We are going to perform the spirometry test with the Spirometry W20s software. First of all, we are going to check the links between the PC and the spirometer. It works correctly and we accept. To do our first spirometry, we will select this first icon of New Patient. On this window, we could write down the surname or the reference and we will go straight to the patient file. Whether we introduce a new reference, then an empty file will appear and we will be able to complete with the patient's name, date, surname, gender, etc. This information is very important to calculate the predicted values of the patient. Once it's finished, we can select the test we are going to perform, the FVC. Clicking on the icon, now we can introduce the biometric data of the patient, height, weight, and the weather information. If we have an electronic weather station installed, it will be directly capture all this data. The drop-down menu will allow us to calculate the ethnic group, in this case for the GLI reference. Later we will see how to modify them. We accept. Now we can start the spirometry test. We don't need to click any icon, and we can start the maneuver in two different ways. The first one, breathing normally 2-3 cycles, and then inspiring slowly, and then doing the forced spirometry test. At the end, we will inspire to finalize the test. The second way will be to perform the forced expiration directly on the transducer. We are going to perform the first maneuver using the first way with the tidal volume. We have finished the first maneuver and automatically the software will position the curve at the point 0. At the top we will be able to see the main parameters, the FVC, FEV1, etc. At the central part of the screen we will see the flow volume graph, the volume time, adult and pediatric incentives, and the GLI graphics. This is a new feature included in the last version 209. Let's see some details of the GLI graphics. The GLI graphics are getting the information from the Quanger GLI reference of 2012. These are one of the most recent references published in spirometry. The good thing is that covering worldwide and is showing us the graphic by colors in different areas. The midpoint on the central area, we show the patient reference. The red zone is the pathological patient zone. Where the orange zone starts is the Z-score -2, which is one of the main values currently. The Z-score represents how many standard deviations have the patient comparing from the population mean. Some time ago, the lower limit of normal was the limit zone to consider a pathological patient, but there were around 10% that were not. Therefore, the orange zone will help us to determine the doubtful patients. It means that the technician has to do complementary tests like review the medical records, etc. This limit with the orange zone is the lower limit of normal. As we said before, the green zone is the normal zone, and the upper side, this strip, is the upper limit of normal. The last line before the blue zone is the Z-score +2. Then we can see the green arrow and we can see a blue arrow as well to see the basal values or the dilation values. Okay, let's do a second and third maneuver. In this case, I have made the spiration directly. Let's perform the third maneuver. In case the start is not strong enough, then the software will show us a warning with the letters EX for retrograde extrapolation. Let's do a fourth. Well, at the top, the maneuvers will be positioned from the best to the worst, using the ERS ATS criteria. M1 will be the first, M2 the second best, M3 the third best, etc. In brackets, we will be able to see which one is the last one we performed. If we click on this icon, we will be able to see the entire list of parameters. In the settings menu, we can enable or disable the ones we want to see in this part. We can see the current patient parameters, the reference parameters, the percentage of deviation, the lower limit of normal, and the z-score. We have different information in this window related to the acceptability of the test. The left side will show us the ATS ERS warnings. On the central, we can see the best FBC and FEV1. Here we are the repeatability of the maneuvers. And at the right side, we have the symptoms that we can mark depending on the patient situation, and it will be shown in a graphic on the patient trends menu. And QC grades. This software version includes some of the ATS ERS 2019 recommendations. One of these changes is related to the warning EOFE, which means end of forced expiration. Previously was related to the end of the test, but now the ATS ERS changed the philosophy and now recommends doing inspiration. This warning will appear when a big difference will be found between the best one and the other maneuvers. This second warning is related to the retrograde extrapolation. The EX warning is the start of tests based on back extrapolation. And the third one indicates a significant difference between the forced expiration and the forced inspiration. If it's greater than 100 milliliters, this box will be marked. Just consider that the expiratory and inspiratory volume should be similar. If they aren't, it means the patient has not taken all the air in their lungs, or maybe they have expired less than expected. Next to this, we have the possibility to mark if the patient has a cough or glottis closure, etc. This will modify the acceptability of the maneuver. The left and right arrow will allow us to move on to different maneuvers. And from this screen, we will be able to open the final report with the GLI graphics, flow volume, volume time, graphics, and patient data. This icon will show us the automatic diagnosis, and this one is to erase some maneuvers. Once we finish all the maneuvers, we can see all graphics by this selection. We have also the option to modify the patient data, just in case we have some error in the date of birth, etc. Here we can fill in the smoking index, cigarettes per day, as well as printing the report. This first icon will appear only in models with disposable transducer, just to input the code which is into the consumables bag. We just saved the test. If we want to perform a deletion test, we just select the basal test and then we click on the post icon. At this moment, the graphics will show the best pre, and when we will be ready, we can start the test. Here we can see the basal test as pre and the deletion on the M1. Let's perform a second and a third maneuver. In the right side, we can see the percentage of deviation between the pre, the reference, and the lower limit of normal. Just have a look on the preview document, and we can see at the top the letterhead data. We can see the predicted values, the date of the last calibration, the software version, etc. The patient data is located on the right side, and here you are the data of the test. The pre-maneuver, M1, M2, M3, the reference, the lower limit of normal, the best post, the second best, then the third, and the percentage of deviation from the pre. At the bottom, we can see the quality grades from the ATS ERS for both, for pre and post. These grades are represented by 7 letters, and each letter will be assigned according to the acceptability of the maneuvers. Comparing to the ones we had from the National Health Education Program, now we have, for instance, the quality degree U, which means that we don't have any acceptable maneuvers, but there are some usable maneuvers. We can see the GUI graphics at the bottom, and the next page will show us the volume time graphics and flow volume. We can set them up from the configuration.